Hello, everyone. So, the topic of this episode was suggested to me by one of my Patreon supporters, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Yeah, he said that I should talk about what's her name because from my next, as he put it, hit piece. Um, which I thought was kind of funny. I've done Trump, I've done Giuliani, and now I'm doing Kayleigh McKinley, McEnany, McEnany, I'll just call her Ninny. So yeah, Ninny. What can I say about her? Well, I had read her bio. I actually um, downloaded a section of it onto my computer so I could read it before I made the video, but unfortunately I forgot to read it. So, oh well, we'll just wing it. It doesn't really matter anyway. Um, so, apparently she went, and I hope I'm getting this right, I'm doing it from memory. She went to Harvard. I think that's proof positive that you don't need to be intelligent to go to Harvard. Um, it's no surprise. I'm sensing that her parents pulled a Lori Loughlin. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Oh, hell, I'll just tell you. So, yeah, Lori Loughlin was an actress back in the day. She's rich, married to, I'm sure, a rich guy. And she paid a college to accept her daughters, and which is a crime. It's bribery. So, um, because they took spots that other people who actually deserved it could have gotten. So, yeah. I'm sensing that with Miss Ninny. So there's not a whole lot that I can say about her. I suspect that this episode will be relatively short, which some of you may be thankful for. But she's terrible. She is a vapid, vacuous, um, functionally useless um, vacuum of intellect. She doesn't have any. I think it was today. It was today or just recently. I apologize for my sniffles. But it was today or yesterday, and she had been asked. And by the way, she, like all the time, every time she has a press briefing, she goes into a room full of members of the press whom are wearing masks, and she refuses to wear one. In a White House that has untold cases of coronavirus. That shows you the absolute and total disregard she has for the life of any other human being other than herself. Even for herself, because she's stupid and she doesn't wear a mask or take precautions. And it shows she's arrogant and selfish, just like the dipshit she represents. The problem with with all press secretaries is that their job is to lie to the press, to spin bad things that the government has done. Um, I think that if a press secretary lies about something that is not classified, then they should be charged with a crime because they're disseminating disinformation and they're causing potentially panic, as Ms. Ninny has done, potentially inciting violence, potentially causing all kinds of problems. People don't look to press briefings to be lied to. They want to be told the truth. You may say, well, obviously it's lies, but that doesn't make it okay. Just because you accept it as such does not mean that the rest of us should have to accept it at all. So, she's kind of following in the tradition herself, but at the same time, she is useless as a human being in terms of actually, I mean, she just lies. Everything out of her fucking mouth is a fucking lie. So, how can you possibly? I mean, it's pointless to listen to her. This twisted bitch today, when asked if about President-elect Joe Biden, when asked if Trump accepts it, McNinny said, "Oh, the president is exploring all avenues regarding so-called, um, you know, what do you call it? Election interference or election fraud or whatever," which is bullshit. There hasn't been widespread election fraud. I mean, anyone with a fucking brain knows that. Election fraud does occur. Okay. It can be especially. It can happen on a large enough scale to really do some harm, but the problem is that the real election tampering that's happening is things like redistricting, and it's generally Republicans that do that, which is one of the many ways in which they cheat. Again, they're just lying pieces of shit. So, but she just comes out and says, oh, he's exploring. She won't acknowledge that Biden is president-elect. Stupidly. I mean, it's stupid to do that at this point. Everybody, even fucking Bill Barr and fucking, what's his face? Turtle face. Evil guy, loves hurting people, smiles when he kicks children in the crotch. Yeah, I can't remember. Mitch McConnell, Bitch McConnell, as I call him. Yeah, I know it's not very creative, but I don't give a fuck. So, even those assholes came out and said, yeah, Biden won, because it's obvious at this point. If there was evidence of widespread voter fraud, one, the Democratic Party would not be involved. The only time the Democratic Party engages in any kind of election fraud is when it comes to defeating progressives. But the Democrats don't, they never go against the fucking Republicans. So it's like, no, they're not going to steal an election. And as other people have pointed out, why would they just steal the presidency? If they really wanted to have power and enough of it, they would have stolen the Senate and Congress. Why didn't they steal all of those while they were at it? I mean, if they were capable of engaging in massive fraud on the scale that would tip a presidential election, then why not go for the trifecta? Because it's a lie. They didn't do that. Honestly, unfortunately. I mean, at this point, I'm fine with the Democrats. As long as they're not fucking over progressives. If they're fucking over Republicans, that's great, because the Republicans are the enemy. I look out at the world, and I don't see that we have very many enemies that can reasonably combat us or defeat us. So, at least militarily, cyber security, maybe, I don't know. But the biggest enemy to the United States is the Republican Party in its entirety. They've been fucking the American people for decades. And now we have, 250 plus thousand dead Americans, which is a nice big sign that screams, the Republicans don't care about you. They don't give a fuck. We have 3,000 fucking people dying in this country per day. and McNinny doesn't wear a fucking mask. And she's exposed to COVID-infected people all the time. Chances are she's probably asymptomatic and she's spreading it around everybody. How is that morally justifiable? Problem is that these assholes, they're not justifying it. They'll justify it by just lying. You know? It's like, my brother's this way too. He'll just lie, do a bold-faced lie to your face, like a child. You know? He'll say one thing in a conversation, and then you argue with him, and then he'll say, I never said that. It's like, what do you think? I have no short-term memory? Do you think that I fell asleep through the whole fucking argument? No, you said this, I remember it. But that's child's thinking. A child thinks that they can get away with saying, I didn't say that, once they have been reasonably shown that they're wrong. You can't reason or talk to people like that because they're too fucked up. They're too involved in themselves. It's like they're a black hole and they suck everything in. They just suck. And if you engage with them in any way, you run the risk of getting sucked into their stupidity and their psychoses. That's why I don't really engage with my brother very much anymore. He hasn't always been like that. He used to be semi-sane. Stupid, but semi-sane. Now he's just a fucking psychopath. And a narcissist. And McNinny's the same way. That's why she'll tell bold-faced lies and then pretend, you know, she'll just stand up there in front of the American people, in front of the entire media, and pretend that Donald Trump won the election. Like an idiot. It's like, that's not going to age very fucking well, is it? You know? I mean, come January, when Biden is sworn in and is living in the fucking White House, you know, is McNinny going to be standing outside the White House, you know, just outside the massive, what I'm sure to be his razor wire fence that encases it, and just be standing there saying, President Trump took a commercial flight with the people today, and because he's a president that's for the people. Well, does he live in the White House? He's taking a break from the White House at this time. He has let his friend Joe Biden use the White House. You know, they would just, it's just all bullshit. So it's like, why listen to them? Why indulge them? If I were the media as a whole, if the media had a spine and was actually functional and had a use and value, they would say, okay, it is clear that these assholes are doing nothing but lying. We're not going to platform them. They're on their fucking way out anyway. You know, we will show only enough of what they say to debunk all their lies. By giving these assholes a platform, you're aiding them in twisting people's minds to believe in these whacked out conspiracy theories and just plain lies. There are 70 some odd million people in this country whom are living in a fucking fantasy land. They don't live in the real world. When they get COVID-19 and they have to go into the fucking hospital, they're screaming at the fucking nurses, telling them that COVID-19 is a hoax, until they get put on fucking ventilators. They don't believe that it's real, despite the fact that they're dying from it. That's a cult. Okay? What do you do to break the cult? To bring the people back, you take them out of the situation that turned them into a cultist in the first place. It's hard to do in this world today. It's hard to censor the government, but we have to. For the sake of this country, for the sake of every life on earth, We have to. Because as long as Americans are still acting like COVID-19 doesn't exist, it's going to continue to stay. It's going to continue to exist. Because they're not taking any precautions to prevent it. If COVID-19 exists in America, then it exists everywhere. It's going to continue to spike. Because we have travel, because we have all of this shit. If the entire world cut out the United States and said, you know, put a fucking border around us to keep us in, then maybe things would get better. Maybe. But they can't do that because we have the biggest fucking military on earth. And we bully anyone who tries to actually do the right thing. America wasn't always a bully. We weren't always the most powerful nation on earth. Which is a horrible thing to be if you think about it. It just means that, you know, again, we bully people. We rule over them, and that's not what America is supposed to be about. It has been that since before its inception, but the expressed purpose of it was to be just the opposite of that. But, I mean, we're involved with every country on earth because we are a global society, not a singular one. It's not Americans and South Americans and Europeans, and we're all on this planet together. We share it. We're not on separate places. What happens to one of us affects all of us. That's what it means to live in a society. If you tell people in the middle of a fucking pandemic that it's okay for them to not wear a mask and to socialize in large groups and to not take any precautions, then guess what? The pandemic's going to get worse. Again, as I stated before, they don't care about it. Somehow, over 70 million people think it's a-okay that 250,000 people are dead, with more to die soon. I mean, fuck, 3,000 people every day. That's the danger of negative propaganda, like what we've seen coming out of the Trump administration, and McNinny kind of symbolizes that. You get 250,000 people dead when the Republican Party are bullies and they're in charge and they fuck with everybody and they don't care about anybody, and when the Democrats are spineless wimps who do nothing. They have done nothing. They, I clapped, I went on MSNBC and said some harsh words about our dear Lord and Master President. It's like, dude, go out there and rip him a fucking new one. The only way to deal with propaganda is to shut the people up whom are generating the propaganda, to censor them, or to talk louder than them and refute every bit of their propaganda. Democrats don't do that, because all they ever do is acquiesce to the fucking Republicans. Biden and Harris, they've already put some of the wrong fucking people in their cabinet, and they're not even fucking power yet. Obama did the same fucking thing. As long as we keep having people like that who do not have the American people's best interest at heart running our country, the country is going to get run into the fucking ground. Full stop. That's it. It already has. The fucking Great Recession of 2008, was it, or 2009? Why did that happen? because of deregulation done by the fucking Republicans, and the Democrats did nothing to stop them. It's just going to keep happening because all of our politicians are owned by the corporations that are getting all the tax breaks and have all the loopholes, which ends up tanking our system every few fucking years. It's pretty fucking simple to figure out. A child could figure it out. The problem is that the majority of the fucking people who vote in this fucking country don't even know how fucking tariffs work. If they don't know how tariffs work, then they're not going to understand why putting tariffs on all of these countries is a bad thing for us. In their minds, and this is incorrect, in their minds, when you put a tariff on a country, it means that the United States gets money. That's not what happens. And if tons and tons of your fucking of your buyers are out of work and don't have any money, guess what? They're not going to be able to buy the products. And so it's this big fucking cycle. But it seems like nobody in this world has a fucking brain. And they don't fucking get it. So we wind up living in a fucked up, stupid, useless system. I mean, millions of people are out of work. There are people fucking starving in the United States. Food banks have been inundated with people. How can the greatest country on earth, supposedly, make arguments for how that's okay? It's not okay. And it's happening because of the Republicans and because of the spineless Democrats. And because of stupid voters. I don't think Biden's going to fix a whole lot. I don't think Obama did bad shit, okay? Let's be perfectly honest. But Obama, his administration, actually did good things too. Unlike the Trump administration, which they all do bad things. They do no good at all. I think Biden is going to be somewhere in the middle. They're not going to do a whole lot more harm, although they're going to do some, because of the people that they've appointed to their fucking cabinet. But they might do a little bit of good. But I don't think they're going to fix the system well enough for it to be sustainable. It's going to fail. And it's going to keep failing as long as we have politicians which are owned by massive multinational corporations. How does this relate to McNinny? She's a cog in a massive machine that is steamrolling over and murdering the American fucking people, and nobody fucking cares. They figure, the average American figures, hey, if it's not happening to me, then it's A-okay. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's pretty much it. You know? If you elect an idiot who doesn't know how tariffs work, and who's also a criminal, who doesn't care about democracy, and tries to steal every election, then you can't be too surprised when he surrounds himself with sociopaths who feel the exact same way as he does. They're all fucking criminals. Unfortunately, the power system in America exists to serve the rich and those rich politicians. It doesn't serve the American people. Yeah. So I guess that's it. Kind of a long one. Well, they all end up being long, but, you know. The media needs to take responsibility for the shit that it does and the people that it platforms. Because the media, as much as they pretend to be against Trump, they give him so much time. They give his minions, who just lie their fucking asses off, so much time. Every second that they allow those assholes on TV is another second that they can brainwash some poor fucking idiot. And the more brainwashed fucking idiots out there, the worse things are gonna get. I mean, they got people to die for them. They got people to say, I'm not going to protect myself and my family. I'm going to allow my family to die for you, Mr. Politician guy who doesn't give a shit about me. Some asshole dipshit politician who doesn't believe in science says, don't wear a mask because it makes you look weak. So they didn't wear a mask? If some guy said, if you don't put your hand on a red hot burner, you'll look weak, would you put your fucking hand on that red hot burner? Or would you say, would you tell them to put their fucking hand on it first? That's the difference in how people deal with shit like this. But you have to be able to see through the bullshit.